in the lovely Champagne Dreams Productions branch office. Let's go ahead and zoom this a little bit. I wish I could zoom before I started it, because that is always an awkward introduction, but we do like to begin and end on an awkward note. So here we are for another vintage queer cinema. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. We're going to talk about Beautiful Thing from 1996, a little British coming-of-age love story coming out. Hello, Janet. How's it going? Just having a little bit of dirty do. Delicious. How's everybody doing? How's your Wednesday? How's everything going? This is our last movie discussion. Next Wednesday, we are going to be starting the 7 Sexy Sins series. I almost called it a collection. Hello, Dion. How's it going? Oh, I should remember to let's see. Oh no, what did I do? Oh no. Okay, hold on. That's not what I meant to do. No. Why what's happening? Okay, hold on, I'm coming back. Okay, hello. Chubby Fingers, I was trying to change it to all chat, and I accidentally changed it to none, and then I couldn't figure out how to get into it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so is it Dew Zero? It is the Zero Sugar Dirty Dew. So this is the cream soda dew that is kind of playing off the whole the Mormon like dirty soda thing. And then I've got a Zero Sugar Baja Cabo Punch for if I finish the Mountain Dew. Dion saying hello. Mama Champagne saying hello. Alex saying hello. My appointment is Friday, so I'll be live again tomorrow. Yes, we'll see you tomorrow. People saying hello, hello. People saying hello, hello to Mama. Mama Champagne just went and visited her, and I have a new book that I'm working on that's kind of fun. This is Letters to the Purple Satin Killer. I got this at Barnes & Noble, and this is kind of fun. An advertisement for Dirty Dr. Pepper. Interesting. Let me see. CJ, hello. Hello. Dirty Dr. Pepper. That would be interesting. If they had a Zero Sugar, I would try Dirty Dr. Pepper. Yeah, I know. Everybody I know is starting to drink like no caffeine, and I'm like, I would hurt people. Caffeine is the thing that keeps me regulated and from like being just an absolute bitch all the time. So we definitely have to have caffeinated dew. But it is delicious. But yes, Letters to the Purple Satin Killer. And so this is printed to look like an old, kind of like an old book. And so it's got little like folds and things. And what I think is really interesting about this is that excuse me. It's an epistolary novel, which is a novel made up of letters. And so it's set on this fictional, it's about this fictional serial killer, the Purple Satin Killer. But the Purple Satin Killer doesn't have a voice in here. And so it's this novel that's kind of like taking on the obsession with true crime and the obsession with serial killers and the types of personalities that are drawn to serial killers, because it's all letters that are written to the serial killer while he's in jail. And so the first kind of section was pre-trial. Now I'm in the trial section, and then I think it's going to be post-conviction. And it's really interesting because the way they set it up, it's a very Blair Witch Project, where it's set up to make you kind of believe that it's a real serial killer. And I was looking at the dates and I was like, I would have heard this, but I had to Google it. I still had to Google it just to make sure. Pretty girl. Because I had to make sure that it wasn't actually a real case that I didn't know of. Too much blood in the caffeine system. I hear that. Yes, Alex, I would be locked up with no caffeine. My boss forbade me from drinking anything with caffeine during work hours. Last time I turned into a one-woman Broadway musical. Oh, dear. Yeah, I end up singing without it. Hello, First Lass. How are you doing? Hello, Gabby the Chicken. And now we're froggy already, so this should go well. And this hair, I have to go get some bleach. I just haven't had a chance to get to Walmart. And but I did get this little fan. Now I have the little YouTuber accessory fan. I got this as a gift at Pride. They gave us at our stations. We had a couple little bottles of water and a fan to cool us off. So now I can do the YouTuber thing and have a little fan. Love that. I also, another thing I picked up at Five Below. I don't know when I'm going to work this in because we've got so many lives scheduled between the 7 Sexy Sins in September and Glamlight and Gore in October. I have 14 makeup lives already planned. But I did find this Angels and Demons, and I do sometimes love doing a look inspired by a mystery toy where I don't know what to plan for. So I picked up one of these little, because they're very different. I mean, it's all kind of pinky, red, purple, black. So, I mean, there's not like the full range of colors, but I felt like each individual one was unique enough. I mean, these two are kind of similar, but otherwise, I think they're all different enough that it'll be interesting to see which one I get and plan a look around that. So that'll be coming at some point. I don't know if it'll be a live or if I'll maybe even like try to film a video sometime and do this. In terms of upcoming events and things that I have, this weekend is a double header on Sunday. Saturday is kind of I have my meeting with Dakota Outright to start talking about a little celebration at the end of the year. And on Sunday, we have Taylor Swift Drag Brunch. And then we are going to have a coloring live stream with Allison Troy, Retro Toy Princess. And that is going to be at 4 p.m. because I think it's 2 p.m. Pacific. So it's going to be 4 p.m. Central. And so I will be on Allison's channel coloring vintage Barbie coloring pages. Let's see what we've got here. I've been missing. I have a fan like that in my purse. I love that, Alex. How's it going, y'all? Just trying not to stress myself out. I'm building my shed this weekend so that I can move the heck out of toxic family land. Well, good luck with that, even if it's just for the summer. Yeah, it's an official YouTuber's tool. Hello, hello. I want to get baked, but I'm worried my heart murmur will do its thing. It feels weird, but it's not like a concern doctor-wise. Well, be safe. I actually just ordered some THC gummies because... so I had ordered a costume I'm trying to get ready for Halloween because Halloween's coming up, and I think there might be a show right around Halloween, if not on Halloween. And so I was like, well, I should be ready. I don't know yet. I don't have an invite, but I should reach out to the person if I want to maybe try to get into it or look for other October shows. But I've been wanting a Rainbow Bright costume for a while, and HalloweenCostumes.com had a sale, and so I ordered their plus size Rainbow Bright costume, and then they sent me a Nift gift where it was like a gift card to this Nift site, and then they connect you to other sites. And one of them was to this Five. I think it's just called Five. And it's like THC gummies. And so it was a $50 gift card for ordering a $60 costume. So, I mean, I've ordered from them before, so I'm sure it's probably like a continuous loyalty thing. Then I hit whatever threshold or whatever. But this year I've only ordered one. Like last year I ordered a few costumes, but this year I only ordered the one. And so I got this, and so I got a $50, they had a thing of gummies, so I got it for basically the shipping, which was like $12 or something. Yeah, Stone, I sing more than normal in sentences I use regularly. Singing, yeah, I do love it. Today is a Women's Equality Day commemorating the right to vote being secured. Yes, we love that. Something to celebrate. We're not going to talk about it because I just can't even get into it. But of course, we lost Dolly Parton. We lost Tim Curry now. They always say these things come in threes. There's another 80-year-old that I can think of that could be the third. If you know, you know. Yeah. Oh, yes. So hopefully, no, I'm not going to say it, but we all know. We all know who the 80-year-old is that could be the third. So, yeah, we won't summon any of the bad trolls. Yeah, and Hayden Panettiere and Catherine O'Hara earlier this year. I mean, it's just not. It's been one of those like big crazy weeks. And I have to say that I went to school with this guy, and I used to take creative writing classes with this guy. And the thing about creative writing classes is that there are some people in there. I remember you too, Gabby. Yeah, so when when you're in a creative writing class, a lot of it is just sort of people like and I get that like every writer has their like has to get out their early stuff that's all going to be shit or whatever, but I think it was pretty clear for a lot of us that a lot of us were not going to become writers, right? Like we knew that we were doing this because we enjoyed it, and maybe we would do some writing and whatever, but we all knew that we were probably not. I think we all knew, or maybe at least I knew, and I was pretty aware for the others as well. But I think we knew a lot of us were not going to become like writers. But my friend Scott that was in there, he was the real deal. He was the one that like the first time I read one of his pieces, I was like, this guy's going to be a writer. And he did eventually put out a book, and I have it somewhere in my house. I think it's in the basement from when I moved, but I know I still have it somewhere. But he put out a short story collection and included this story that I read when I was I think I was still an undergrad. I think when they were around, we were still undergrad. And then I started grad school like the next year. But he wrote this story that was so beautiful. And it was basically these two guys. And it's the night before one of them is going to get married. And the other guy is his best man. And they're drinking and they're like, you know, doing whatever, like very innocent stuff. He's from Canada. He's very sweet. So there were no like real weird hijinks or anything at this bachelor party, and they're having this conversation, and I think it's like as the sun is coming up, like on what's going to be the wedding day. They're talking about the fact that like, unless you die young, unless you die prematurely, most, if not all, of the celebrities that like meant something to you as you were like growing up, like when you were young, when you were impressionable, all this kind of stuff, all of those celebrities are going to die in your lifetime. And the way that he presented it, it was so like beautiful and heartbreaking and wonderful. And I have thought about that ever since that class. I've thought about, hey Monique, how's it going? I've always thought about that story, and because the two big ones for me were Toni Morrison and Betty White. Now there's other ones that I've been like, oh, that's sad or whatever, but like the two big ones where I was like, I'm gonna need some time, like this is gonna be a big one that's gonna hit me, were Toni Morrison and Betty White. And both of those have happened. And now like with Dolly Parton, I'm just kind of like, Dolly Parton inspired me more than I've thought about. There's so much that I love about Dolly Parton, and so there's so much that has inspired me, and just the way she lived her life and the way that she was just sort of kind to people. I absolutely love it. So let me see. We've had a few people. Yeah. Oh, so you remember Dion? I thought maybe you remembered me, but that's okay. That's fine. You subbed to Dion again. Good. Because she has lots of live streams as well. Hello, Monique. Yes, Dion is fabulous. Make sure if you are not subscribed. Most people who come to my lives regularly came here from Dion's channel. So, but I will say, especially for Replay Crew, anybody who just maybe catches us, if you enjoy my channel, you'll definitely enjoy Dion's channel as well. So make sure you subscribe as well. Yeah, Dolly, so good. So I think we haven't set the date yet. We're still working out the date, but we've decided that next month's drag brunch bingo, because the first one was Madonna, this one's Taylor Swift. And so I think we're going to do a Dolly Parton brunch for September. So I think that's going to be, oh yeah, I loved it. Well, thank you. I am so fun. You found me coincidentally and was so excited. Yeah, I love that. I love that you're here. Yeah. Hello, Monique. Nice to see you. Glad you made it here. But yeah, so let's get into it. I always like to chat for a little bit just so people can get in, get settled. We can see what the vibes are. We can see if we get hit with like awful trolls right from the beginning or if they're going to hold off for a little bit. You never know. You never know. But let's get into our subject. So again, I may not respond to all the chat as we go through just because I'm going to be kind of talking about the movie, and so we'll see how things go. But let's talk about Beautiful Thing. So I knew when I was saying that I was going to do vintage queer cinema, I was inspired because I found Trick and Different for Girls on Tubi. And then I was like, well, there's 3 Wednesdays that I'm going to be around in August because the first week I was on vacation, so I didn't do a live then. But I was like, I need a third movie. And I was like, I absolutely, if we're doing vintage, we're going 90s, I should do Beautiful Thing. Beautiful Thing is this British film. It's this lovely coming of age film about these 2 boys in the UK, in Britain. And it's so good. It's so sweet. It's so beautiful. Now it is very much of the time, so there is like some threat of like violence and things. And so basically, so it starts off, we've got this kid, his name is Jamie, and so it starts off, he's at school and they're having like sports day and they're out playing soccer because they have a student teacher. Sorry, this hair is going to drive me crazy. Garlic chili sauce to spicy shrimp ramen. I had ramen last night. I love that. I did not have spicy shrimp ramen because I don't like shrimp. Hello, Don. How's it going? We're just going to pin that out of the way because I need to get this haircut and bleached and the whole thing. But yeah, so it's sports day, and then the kids are kind of picking on him, and they throw his backpack over the fence, and he just decides to cut school and go home. And so we meet him, and then we see a brief flash of this guy named Steve. Which is, I guess, like, that must be a British thing because his name is Stephen. And usually here, like, for a nickname, we would shorten it to Steve. But I guess they call him Steve. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But that's his name, Steve. Everybody calls him Steve. And so we see a little flash of him, and then he comes home and he sees Leah. Leah is his neighbor who is obsessed with Mama Cass. She loves Mama Cass. She loves the music. She loves the person. It was a little bit crazy. And then her mother is Rose. And there is this older woman who I looked in the credits and I think her name is Marlene. I looked it up and I couldn't find a picture. I searched the actress's name and Beautiful Thing, and it wouldn't show me a picture of her in the movie. But she's the only one that I can think of that she would be of all the other, like, there's little characters or whatever. But they have this neighbor, Marlene, who's just this old lady with big blonde hair. And she's just nosy. And she doesn't really have any real dialogue. She's just kind of in some of the scenes. But, like, whenever something happens, she's always there and around. And that's kind of the point. We'll get to that in terms of, like, some of the themes of the movie. But so we see Marlene, and then Jamie goes home. And then his mom catches him at home and is like, what's going on, you? And then the teacher rings from school and rats him out, and so he's in trouble or whatever. And so then we find out a little bit more about Steve. And so Steve goes home, and he's got an older brother named Trevor, and Leah is kind of hot for Trevor, but he's a drug dealer and an asshole, and his dad is an asshole. Am I a woman? No, I am a drag queen. I am a legend, a chupacabra, if you will. And so he comes home and he's gonna like make the tea or whatever. And his dad, I don't know if he works nights or whatever is going on. Hello, Tina Jones. Nice to see you. Yes. So BC, I am non-binary, but we're not going to get too much into that because we're talking about a movie. So his dad is kind of an asshole and he's sleeping on the couch, and Leah starts playing this music really, really loud. And so BC, you can just go. I have a thin patience today. So let's go ahead and hide you. Goodbye. And so... Well, thank you, Gabby the chicken. Oh, geez, and he's a Trumper. Okay. And so Leah starts playing the music really loud, and Steve like freaks out and is like, because his dad is sleeping on the couch, so he runs over and he's knocking on her door and he's like, "You gotta get out of here! You gotta turn that down! You gotta stop it!" And then Trevor comes home and like pushes him out of the way, and like goes and talks to Leah and turns off the music or whatever. And then when they're going back, Trevor locks him out of the house. Well, so he ends up burning dinner. So then his dad is being an asshole and is like, "Trevor, go make me a sandwich." And he's like, "I'm not the one who burned this up." Or he's like, "Make you a fucking sandwich," or all this kind of like the way that abusive people are. And so so Janet, you might have missed it. He was a Trumper because that was the last message he sent before I blocked him. Was he said Trump 2026, which shows you about how bright Trumpers are, because Trump's, first of all, he's already had 2 terms, and I know he thinks that he can have a third, but he can't. But Trump wouldn't be running in 2026 anyway. So these people are just not very bright. But yeah, so he burns the tea, and so Trevor like beats him up or whatever, and so like smacks him around a little bit, and so he ends up going over to Jamie's house to stay. And Sandra, who is Jamie's mother, let's see, and so Sandra lets him stay over or whatever. And it's pretty clear right away that Jamie is smitten with Steve or whatever. We don't really get a lot from Steve himself, but he's just kind of like awkward or whatever. And so then he goes back the next day, and then like there's other kind of stuff. And Sandra's got this boyfriend named Tony who's way younger than her and kind of a little hippy dippy pot smoker kind of guy, and he knows about drugs. That's going to be important later. So he's like clearly too young for Sandra, but he's like smitten with her or whatever. So he's there to babysit. And so then after Steve gets punched, then he comes over and stays, and it's this whole thing. And so Sandra runs a pub. So she's like a manager or works in a pub, but she doesn't own it. Which, if Ellie Mae ever watches this, if you want to leave us a comment, because I know a little bit about pubs, because where pub comes from, public house. And so I think it's like a system where you have to like apply to be the like, oh, I don't know if you have to apply to be the owner, but it's like, it's this whole thing where you can't just like open a pub, I don't think. Or maybe you couldn't in the 90s. I don't know if it's changed since then. But basically she's trying to get her own pub. She's trying to get like her own pub. And she's got this like kind of gross guy that's helping her or whatever. And so he tells her this joke. He's like, if you're closing up at the end of the night and you find a $5 on the floor, and you ask 3 potential candidates, what would they do with that? And one says, I would put it in the till, like that's the bar's money or whatever, whatever. And they all have 3 different things that they would say. And he's like, so which one do you give the job to? And she's like, I don't know. And he's like, the bird with the biggest tits. And so then she goes a little bit later, she goes to the interview and she tells the joke. And of course he laughs because he's slimy, but there's 2 other people and they're both like, what's going on? And then she's like, in all honesty, I'd give it to the last one. The last one said I'd pocket it. I found it. It's my money. And she said I'd give it to the last one because at least I knew where I stood with her. And so, oh, see, fucking people. Nobody wants to talk to me until I'm online. Let me shut that down. Let me shut that shit down right away. Okay. We get distracted so easily. So easily. Yes, each guy knows about drugs and laws. It was a sketchy vibe, but I'm a stoner. I'm not weird, though. Yes, and so they're kind of hanging out a little bit, and Leah's always kind of watching. She's always around, and that nosy neighbor is always kind of around when things happen. And so then eventually they decide they're going to go out to this boxing match. And so Steve and his father and Trevor are going to go to this boxing match. And Sandra, who's kind of like, I mean, she's certainly not like PC. She's not woke or whatever. She's like, don't you get enough of that at home? And he's like, I'm as a spectator. And she's like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't kid about that or whatever. So he goes, and then like on the way back, Trevor and his dad are like playfully like boxing, but like around him. So like one is on each side and they're like punching in front of his head and stuff. And eventually, like, Trevor is clearly trying to egg him on, and eventually he, like, pushes Trevor. Excuse me, pretty girl. And then it cuts away. So then Steve is, like, cry face in Jamie's bedroom, and they're talking or whatever, and he, like, lifts up his shirt, and he's got all these bruises or whatever. And Sandra goes over and yells at him through the mail slot and all this kind of stuff. So he stays over, and he rubs lotion on his back, and I'm like, I guess it's supposed to be cute, it's supposed to whatever, but like he dumps this glob of lotion on the top of his back, but then he's like rubbing his lower back with no lotion, and I was just like, if you're gonna try this like subtle seduction technique, you're gonna have to try better than that. And so he like, so he's rubbing him with lotion or whatever, and then they're sleeping top to tail, so like one his head and feet, and then the other one his head and feet. And so they're kind of, and at one point Sandra refers to it as, oh dear, they're creating new accounts. Sandra refers to it as the 70-1. There's a lot of British slang. Sometimes the accents are a little hard, and so being able to, it's not me this time, it's not me either. What's not you? I missed that. What's not you? I don't. Sorry, I got distracted. Let me know what's not either of you. But so they're sleeping top to tail, and so then Jamie is like, "Can I come down there with you?" And he's like, "No." And then he was like, "Oh, okay." And then he goes to bed. He starts to like lay down and like top to toe, what is it? Top to toe, yeah. Sorry, I'm super distracted tonight. I don't know what's going on. And it rubs the lotion on its skin or it gets the hose again. Messaging, oh yeah, it wasn't Mama Champagne this time. Yeah. And so, so then eventually Steve turns around and he sleeps up at the head of the bed. And then Jamie, like they turn the light off and they're going to bed, and Jamie like leans over and kisses him, and then he's like, "Do you think I'm queer?" And Jamie's like, "Well, it doesn't matter what I think." And then there's just like awkward silence, and they go to bed, and then they end up like spooning, and it's all cute or whatever. And so they've kind of got this little bit of a romance going on under everybody's noses, right? Like they're trying to not, obviously Steve's family would like abuse him if they found out about all this kind of stuff. So they're trying to be low key or whatever. And so they go off to this party, and Leah's there, and she wants to get hit on the head because she read this story about how Mama Cass wasn't allowed into the Mamas and the Papas because her range wasn't high enough for the songs they were writing. And she was walking, I don't know if this is true, I don't know what this is from or whatever, but they're reading it out of this like book or out of a CD liner or something. And she said that she got hit on the head with a lead pipe that like fell, and then she miraculously had a higher range and got into the band and all this kind of stuff. And so it's so bizarre. And so she wants someone to hit her on the head. Well, Sandra comes in because earlier that day, Leah had seen Tony, and she told him the story about how Sandra was like a slag and was having all these abortions or whatever, and he like asked her about it. So she comes in, she's furious, but Leah's got her head turned, and because she wants to be distracted, so she's like, "You guys have to talk," and then somebody hit me on the head with these tongs. So then Sandra grabs him and just whacks her, and then she says that she had a miscarriage. And there's a lot of weird, like, Leah's interactions with people are very strange, because she seems to be hot for Trevor, the abusive asshole brother. She seems to maybe be a little bit hot for Tony, but he is like smitten with Sandra, so he won't like violate that trust or whatever. And so she smacks her on the head, and then at this party, so then they start going out because Jamie is mad at Leah that she was saying these things about his mother or whatever. So they like storm off, and Leah, because also Steve's brother is a drug dealer, and so he also brought drugs to this party and was like selling them or whatever. And so then Leah is chasing after them and is like, "Give us an E, would you?" Like, and they're like, "Oh, fuck off," whatever. And then Leah's like, well, I could tell everybody about what's going on. What if I told your dad about, what you two are doing? And then they're like, what? And he said, and she's like, yeah, I know. Uh, she's like, you know what these flats are like? The walls are paper thin. And so Steve starts to panic a little bit. And then she tells him, she's like, I wouldn't tell. She's like, I actually have been covering for you. I told Trevor that like I had been in and seen that you were sleeping on the couch, which isn't true. And so all this kind of stuff. So then Steve like freaks out and is like yelling at Jamie about keep your queer hands off me, and like runs off, and it's this whole thing. So Jamie's all heartbroken, and then it's it's been kind of odd. Like there's all this kind of like coming out stuff, and Jamie is clearly much more comfortable with himself than Steve is. And so then Jamie goes into like this news place, and then when somebody's buying cigarettes, he steals a gay magazine. And let me tell you, a little bit later, like Steve comes over to kind of apologize, and he shows him the magazine, and as they're looking through the magazine, I was like, I remember gay magazines from the 90s, because they were that bad. There's so many just like sex ads in the back, and the like classified section is like where Hope goes to die, and like, so like stuff that's like actual useful information. Hello, small plastic world. And so So he's like showing him this stuff, and then they decide to go to the Gloucester. So they've kind of made up a little bit. They've decided they're going to go to the Gloucester, which is this gay pub. Now they are supposed to be like, they never really say their ages, but like 15, 16. They're clearly still in school, but things are sometimes a little bit permissive across the pond. And so they decide to go to this gay bar, and there's this kind of questionable drag queen there who is doing Hava Nagila, but like live singing it, and then is walking around, and like as they finish up the number, there's this other guy who's like a regular, seems to be clearly like a regular. The Gloucester. And so his name is Petra, and he like makes a pass at one of them about like, hey, you want to go around the back? And then the drag queen is like, what do we have here? And the drag queen comes over and makes all these jokes about calling them chicken, which is a thing that in the 90s, but it's like someone who's like way too young, and then there were like chicken hawks. It's this whole thing. And so like everybody seems to know that they're too young to be there, but everybody is like like creeping on them a little bit. So it is a little bit creepy or whatever. But so they go and they think it's fun, but then Sandra has figured out. So Miss Chewin, the teacher, calls again, and she said that something had happened at school, and she goes and looks at his notebook while he's on his way out to go to the Gloucester, and there's all this like graffiti. There's all of this. They call him like a queer bent bastard and a bumfucker and all this kind of stuff with like dicks drawn in it. So there's all this stuff where he's being like bullied and harassed and all this kind of stuff. And so Sandra like grabs it. She doesn't actually say it, but she does a like follow that bus, because they get on the bus to the Gloucester, and she runs. She's a little bit behind them and catches a cab and follows them. So she like finds out. And so she's kind of an odd duck, this Sandra. She does kind of eventually come around, but then she seems almost more pissed that he didn't like tell her, but then she's not super supportive right away. And so they have this big like coming out emotional scene. And then she eventually just is like, I'm always going to love you. Like, this is, why won't you talk to me? Why aren't you telling me about this? I'm always going to love you. I'm always going to be here for you, or whatever. And so then Steve comes over and then is like, can I talk to Jamie? And then he's like, she knows. And then she's like, well, I'm not going to tell your father, because I don't want this estate known for like child murder. So I'm not going to do that. Hello, Cheese. How's it going? A hop, skip, and a jump from your nearest neighbor. Yeah, across the pond, like going to the UK, or from the UK to the US, across the pond. And so it's this whole like big moment or whatever. And so they finally decide that they're gonna like be together, and Steve like is so scared that his dad is gonna find out, but Jamie is trying to tell him like we're gonna figure it out, like everything will be okay. And then his mother reveals that she has been assigned a pub. So even though she told the like titty joke or whatever, she still got an offer on her own pub. And so she is like telling him we're gonna end up moving because we have to go to this other place where I got this pub. So now Leah comes back into the scene because all of a sudden, super loud Mama Cass. Oh, and when Jamie and Steve had been coming back from the Gloucester, they see Leah, and she's clearly just like drugged out of her mind. Like she's been taking some drugs. So again, the drug part gonna come in much more here. And so Leah is playing Mama Cass again, really, really loud. And when they were going in, they said, "What are you doing, Leah? Or are you pissed or whatever?" And she was like, "Who's Leah?" And so she goes into the house, and then she comes out, and she's got her mom. She at one point she like sneaks into her mom's room and gets out a muumuu, and she puts on the muumuu, and like this like long stocking for hair, like a yellow stocking, and all this kind of stuff. And she's singing. She's got big shoes on or whatever, like her mom's shoes. She's supposed to be like about their age, like Steve and Jamie, but she's got her mom's shoes on. For some reason they're really big and clowny, and so she's like talking like she's talking to the press while Mama Cass plays in the background. And then Tony comes out and he's like, "Oh, she's on a trip, like this is bad." And then all of a sudden she like climbs up onto the railing of their estate, and Leah and Sandra have never gotten along. So Tony is like, "Oh shit, like she's on drugs. She's gonna jump off this thing." "Hello, Tanya, how's it going?" And so she goes over, or Tony goes over and grabs her legs, and Sandra comes over and she doesn't seem to understand what's happening. She doesn't seem to understand that like something's wrong here. Like something is seriously, seriously wrong. And so he like swipes her away, and she's like, "Hold on." She's like, "Body language, Tony." And so we're going, "Hello, Cheese, what is your question? We are talking about a movie, but what is your question?" And so he like swipes her away or whatever, and then they get her off the thing, and then she just kind of wanders off. And so he's like, "She's not okay." And Sandra's just like, just leave her, whatever. Like Sandra doesn't always come out the best in this movie. And he's like, no, I gotta go find her or whatever. And so he goes and follows her, and she starts walking in traffic. Like it's this whole thing. And so he like manages to get her, and he gets her back to her house, and then he's like sitting there with her. So he ends up staying at her house for the night and like sitting with her or whatever. So then the next day, everything is apparently right with the world. So Steve waits for his dad to leave, and then he irons his shirt and he gets all dressed up because they're going to go back to the Gloucester. And so they invite Leah to go to the Gloucester with them. And then there's this scene where her mother is like this old, she's got like, it sounds kind of like a Jamaican accent. And she's like, "You're going to be seduced by a lesbian. Why don't you come to bingo with me tonight?" And she's like, "But mother, I already am a lesbian." And then she just laughs or whatever. And so the way the whole thing kind of ends is that then they're waiting. And so again, there's all of this like fear. And so Steve is still kind of like nervous. And Jamie, they're kind of waiting just kind of down at the bottom for Leah. And suddenly Mama Cass starts playing in the background. It's not entirely clear if there is actually music or if it's the soundtrack, but there seems to be music because we'll talk about it in a second. So he all of a sudden just goes, "Dance with me." And Steve kind of looks around like he's not sure, and then eventually gives him his hand, and they start dancing together. And that's very sweet. But then like people just start like congregating, like the nosy neighbor is like there and is kind of watching. And there's this other neighbor that we saw in like one scene when Leah almost jumped off the railing, like she was there, and she's got a disapproving look on her face. And there's one guy who's kind of dancing along, and he seems to be dancing along to the music, so I think maybe there really is music. And then Leah, like Sandra comes out and sees them dancing together, and then Leah comes up and asks her to dance, and she's like, "I'm gonna go and I'm gonna find myself a big dyke." They were much freer with using dyke in that. I love dykes on bikes, and I think that as a reclaimed word, it's lovely, but we don't hear it as much as we used to. But and so then Sandra goes down to dance with them, because that's one of the things with this ending scene. Hello, Grace, how's it going? Is that it is kind of triumphant. It's meant to be sort of triumphant. But there is always this threat of violence, and there are definitely people who are like standing around in the group that are like looking disapproving, and so they're just kind of dancing and holding each other and like eyes closed and the whole thing. And so Sandra is dancing with Leah, and she's like mean mugging everybody in the crowd. So I did like that she like puts on this like mama bear face of like, try it, bitch, like I will knock you the fuck out. And so, and then they're talking, and then so she asks Leah, she's like, so this dyke you're gonna meet, what's she like? And she's like, oh, big and butch. And she's like, what color eyes? Green. And of course she's got green eyes. And then she's like, all right. And then they're just dancing. So there's a little bit of fun flirtation that I'm sure never goes anywhere or whatever. But, and then they're just kind of dancing, and it's just this kind of like sweet moment. There's definitely like the overtones of violence. At one point, Sandra says, like, Steve, imagine your dad's face. And they just kind of laugh about it, but it's also like, yeah, it's a little bit scary. Like, Steve's dad is abusive and beats the shit out of him, and you're moving to another place. So it's not clear if that means that he's gonna move to that place with them, but it is kind of like, it ends on this kind of like sort of triumphant note with these like subtle overtones of potential problems. And so, yeah, that's what's going on. Let me see. You should make a Discord just for general chatting. If I ever do a Patreon, maybe I'll do a Discord. I don't really understand how Discord works. I'm on the Novimpia Discord, and I don't really understand it. But yeah, that's maybe someday. Let's see. I think I missed some things. The titty joke is a winner when it comes to men, even if they're gay. That's a silly joke, not a weird one. But it's weird for a job interview, Gabby. Like, that's the point, is that she was like interviewing to get this job as like the owner manager or whatever. So like, to tell the titty joke at that, like, that's weird. That's weird. It's not unnatural or immature necessarily. And there was a woman on the committee. So it's this other like very straight-laced looking man and a woman, and then the creepy guy. And it's meant to be very lecherous, of like the bird with the biggest tits. And so, yeah, it was a little bit creepy. People saying hello. Someone in the group is a little shit starter. I'm going to deal with our chickens. Don't be shocked if I disconnect. It's accidentally if our Wi-Fi reaches so far. Oh, so you've got chickens. Gabby the chicken is raising chickens. Hopefully no problems are happening. Grace came in. People are saying hello. Put them away individually. Super cute, but not at night when they claw to get away. Yeah. Chickens. Mama Champagne does not like birds, so I'm sure she does not envy you having to take care of the chickens. Maybe someday there will be a Discord. So that's a beautiful thing. It's a little bit more, it's not as much of a clear like through line of the plot. There's lots of little things that come in, and there's little moments that are kind of fun. Like, there's this girl, Claire, who likes Steve. She's got a crush on Steve, and she tries to invite him over to her house, to drink vodka with her other friend who is like 16 and pregnant. So they do lots of things also to remind you that this is like low-income housing, that this is like, it's like the projects, but like the British version of that, which I know it's like a council estate, and I don't know if council estates, again, I don't know a lot about the UK, so I don't know if they are all low-income housing, but I know that some council estates are low-income housing, and this is clearly meant to be presented as like low-income housing, is really kind of the focus, and that, like Steve's dad being this kind of working-class drunk guy. And there is kind of this sad moment where Steve is like talking about like how he has this realization about his dad after his dad like beats him up the last time, and where he was like, I was walking down the street and there was this drunk pissed out of his mind in the gutter, and everybody was walking around him, and I had to step over him, and it was my old man, and like I'm supposed to like care about someone like that, like I'm supposed to think about somebody like that, and so he has kind of this moment where he's like, where he's just like, this man is nothing, this man means nothing to me. We're talking about the movie Beautiful Thing. So we kind of went through the plot, and it's really just a cute little coming of age show. It's from 1996, and like I said, it's a British film, and so if you can get through the like British slang, if you need to have subtitles on, you can try that as well, because it can be a little bit odd. There are some things in there, and there are things now that I used to not ever get. I would just assumed it was Britishisms, and now like a few years ago I started watching like British panel shows a little bit. No worries, Small Plastic World. These kind of like more narrative chats, they can be a little hard to jump into the middle of. So, but yeah, so like there's a lot of Britishisms that I didn't get the first time around that I get now. And so I was like, oh, okay, that's what they were saying. Yeah, I love British panel shows. I'm a big fan. I like a lot of British shows. I just wish that, and now, but our shows are becoming the exact same way, because one of the things I didn't like is that they were always so short. Like a season of a series would be like 6 episodes, like Absolutely Fabulous. I loved Absolutely Fabulous. But it was like 6 episodes and then done, and then another series of 6 episodes. And so it's always so short, but now we're getting to be like that with 8 episodes. Maybe I was spoiled. I grew up in the days like Golden Girls had like 25 episodes. Even like when we got into the 90s and there were shows that were like an hour long, like Buffy, the first season was only 12 episodes. That was their like pilot season. But after that, every episode or every series had 22 episodes, 45 minutes. Yeah, so I don't appreciate it. Xena, I love Xena. Was Xena a British? Oh, yeah, Xena had like the 22 episodes. Sorry. I took a second. I saw Britcoms, and then I was like, was Xena a British show? That's not what you were saying. You were saying that Xena had that number of episodes. Yes. I love Xena. I have Xena somewhere on DVD. I should rewatch that. I haven't rewatched that in years. I love Xena. I love Absolutely Fabulous. It reminds me of my life with my toxic family, Drunks with Money. Yeah, it was a little bit crazy, and it's such an interesting sort of character study, and I love some of the things they did with Safi, because she was always kind of the curmudgeon, but then even she had little moments, like when they find the porn magazine, when she decides she's going to turn Serge's room into a walk-in closet, and they find the issue of Razzle, and then like Safi is all offended and she like throws it away, but then her mom goes down into the kitchen and Safi's like pulled it out of the garbage and is looking at it, and they both try to pretend like they didn't see anything. And love Absolutely Fabulous. Love it. Xena is on Comet, I think. Can't remember what day. I think Sunday. What is Comet? Is Comet like a streaming service? Does it play like television? Like, is it one where it's a streamer, but it's got like channels on it, or is it an actual channel? I haven't had cable for years and years and years and years and years. It was during like the first or second season of Atlanta Housewives is when I got rid of cable. And it's because it was after I got divorced, and I was in this like big depressive funk or whatever. And I think I've talked about this before, so sorry if this is a repeat for some people. But they used to do marathons, so it would be like, Thursday is Real Housewives Day, we're having a marathon. But it wasn't really a marathon, because what they would do, no matter how far they were in the season, they would play 3 episodes in a loop. So the marathon, instead of starting at like episode 1 of the season and marathoning through however many had come out, they would just pick 3 episodes, the newest and the 2 before that, and they would just replay those over and over and over and over and over again. And so I remember one time I was sitting there and I was a little bit in the bag, and I realized that I had watched the full 3 set of episodes through twice, and they were starting on the 3rd run, and I was like, you have to get rid of cable. You are turning into a zombie and you have to get rid of this. Let's see. But it's still like if I was in that situation, I'd act like the kid, and I'd do as well. It's so weird to watch it and laugh because I live it. Yeah, Safi. And then the later ones, when they did the US ones and Safi writes the play and they recreate scenes from the like original series, it's so funny. I miss Ally McBeal, although it's not a Britcom. I watched a little bit of Ally McBeal. I couldn't get into it. The like dancing baby. And then I remember I just saw one episode where like she like kicked the dancing baby, but it turned out to be a lawyer who was a little person. It was a whole thing. It was crazy. But one thing I did like about Ally McBeal, there was one, I did see I don't know, I saw a clip or an episode somewhere, and it just made me laugh because Lucy Liu is on that show, and Portia de Rossi. And Portia de Rossi was like trying to poach Lucy Liu because she was going to leave and start her own law firm. And so she was trying to like get Lucy Liu, and Lucy Liu had to be like, Lynn, I'm rich. And she's like, yeah, so she's like, so I only work here so that people can see my outfits. You've already seen my outfits. I don't know why that scene stuck with me so much, but it just made me laugh. And so I just remember that. I love Bubble. Bubble is so good. Yes, this new show with Elizabeth Tascioni. Good Lord, that's a neat character. Yeah, Bubble is fun. And they made her so kooky, and then it got like crazier and crazier, and then they brought in Katie Grin so that Jane Horrocks could play more than one person. It's so fun. Found like that one on YouTube for Harry Potter. It's all best of clips. It's not a marathon. Oh, interesting. I still haven't seen the last Harry Potter movie. I think I've seen all 1 through 7, but I haven't seen the last one. And I won't watch it any way that gives money to fucking turf J.K. Rowling. So that's one thing. So that series is coming out in December. People should be boycotting that fucking J.K. Rowling series. Fuck that transphobic bitch. Like, don't give her money. Like, it's, the worst. I love that despite her being a terrible mom. She picked a gorgeous name, Saffron. How nice. And it's a gorgeous color. A lot like her in texture. I wonder if it was why. Yeah, that could be. I've seen no Harry Potter movie. Yeah, boycott, not watching it. So I kind of want to see it just because I've seen all the other ones, and I'm a little bit of a completionist, and so I'm like, I'm sure I know somebody who's got the DVDs, and so I'm like, if I could borrow it from somebody where I would know that it wouldn't in any way benefit J.K. Rowling, then I would maybe watch it. Because I do also think that like, and J.K. Rowling is different from a lot of other kind of like some of these questionable sort of things, because she has openly and gleefully shown that any royalty, she has said like every royalty check that she gets is going to go towards this like awful transphobic bullshit that she does or whatever. So she's not even like trying to dance around it or and all this kind of stuff. And so I totally get that. I agree, but I don't want to give her any money. Yeah, I won't do anything that gives her money. So I'm certainly not going to watch that HBO show. I might even I've been thinking about getting rid of HBO for a while anyway. Like I don't watch any one streamer all the time. Like Peacock is the one I have to have because I watch Days of Our Lives, but I think I might wait until December and then cancel my HBO and tell them it's because of J.K. Rowling. And we'll see how long that lasts, because HBO does tend to have some good stuff. But yeah, but I still kind of want to see it. So if I could see it in a way that doesn't give J.K. Rowling any money, because she is awful and terrible. She's a terrible, terrible human being. And I think that she is kind of different because there's something to be said for once things are already produced. Because that's the other thing, is this whole new series is all done after she's revealed herself to be a terrible, transphobic, awful person. So, like, yes, people should be mad at the people who are agreeing to be a part of that or whatever. I have a little bit of a different feeling when things have already been completed. And that's why, like, the older movies, like, those were created before we knew what a terrible person she was. And so I don't think that the other people who worked on that should necessarily be penalized because of that. Um, because that was the thing. It was like Death on the Nile or Murder on the Nile, whichever one it was called. Um, who's that money going to if there aren't ads? So any money that's raised on YouTube will go to whoever put them up. So if it's on like an official J.K. Rowling channel, then it'll go to her. If it's some other thing, she may get some money through licensing. It's hard to know. It would depend on who the channel is. But so like Death on the Nile, because that was the whole thing with Armie Hammer when it came out, that documentary came out where he was like an abusive creep and was having these like weird he was having these weird text messages with this girl about how he wanted to be a cannibal and eat her and all that, like a very creepy guy or whatever. And it was when the press tour was happening for Death on the Nile. And so I get that people are like, oh, like Armie Hammer should be canceled or whatever. But then they like want to cancel that film. And it's like, first of all, the movie was filmed and made and completed before we found out any of this stuff. And yes, I get it that you don't think that Armie Hammer should get to profit off of that. But why should Gal Gadot not make any money off of that movie? Why should Dawn French and Jennifer Saunders, AbFab, why should they not profit off of it? And Letitia Wright and Annette Bening. And like, there's a whole other people, like the whole cast. And so everybody that worked on that is going to profit from this. So like I'm a little bit more, it's a little bit more of a gray area when it comes to things that have already been made and already produced. It's a different situation. Like I just think, and I think about that guy from the Cosby Show who somebody found him at like working at a Trader Joe's. And they're like, the Cosby Show was one of the biggest shows in the world. Like, why are you working at Trader Joe's? And he said, well, I used to be able to like be an actor and make not like a ton of money, but I could make a comfortable living with the bit of acting that I was doing because I had residuals from the Cosby Show. When everybody canceled the Cosby Show, I didn't have those residuals. So now I can keep doing my acting, but I have to also work at Trader Joe's. And people were like, that shouldn't be the thing. And it's like, well, but that's what that boycott did. Like, I understand that Bill Cosby is affected and he makes less money, but everybody else on that show that gets residuals also makes less money. So it's one of those things that like, well, but he was trying to be an actor. Like, he was trying to be an actor. And he said that, like, when I was still getting the residuals, I could be an actor and do the things that I was doing and live comfortably. And then when that changed, then he couldn't. Elvin, yeah. And so she's like, I couldn't. Yes. Let's see. Oh, what did she do? Yes. Oh, Janet, you should look into her. She's awful, and she gets worse and worse and worse and worse every day. Like, she has put millions of dollars into lobbying for transphobic legislation and has achieved some of it. She is always penning these like think pieces that are super transphobic. She's just awful. And there was a moment when it first started, the first couple of tweets, there was a moment, because maybe I am naive and stupid and full of hope. There was a moment when it all kicked off that I was like, I feel like there's a way that we could all sort of come together. Because the first couple tweets that she was making were with news coverage. She was mad with how people were like forming the language in news coverage. Because they were talking about people who menstruate. And she made this like snarky tweet about, didn't we used to have a word for that? And it was like wombin, and she spelled like women in all these weird ways or whatever. And then there was something else where, and she had this statement about like, you know, I have trans friends and I love them and all this kind of stuff. But she's like, but they don't understand some of the things that we like go through and all this kind of stuff. And I thought, there's a way that this could come together, because what she's saying, now let me be very clear about this, because I'm also not on YouTube trying to get myself canceled, but in those very early tweets, there was like a thread of something that felt true, which was that as somebody who was assigned female at birth, she had a certain sort of like socialization experience that a lot of trans people don't experience, because there's two parts of this, right? There's the internal feeling about how you feel and how you then go out and interact with the world. But then there's also the way that the world comes and interacts with you. And so I just was like, there's a way that we should be able to sit down and say that even if the two of you, J.K. Rowling and whoever this trans person is that she's mad about, even if you two came at being a woman in different ways, like the women that you've become, the journey getting there was very different. But you don't have to invalidate both of you being women to say that, right? Like you can say that trans women are women, cis women are women, like that's fine. Maybe their journeys and their experiences were very different getting here. And let's talk about that. Let's engage with that. And that could be a positive thing. That could be, I mean, that's what intersectional feminism is all about, is about talking about different experiences and how different people's experiences of certain identities are. So like there was a little germ, a little nugget that I was like, this could be repaired. And then of course everybody immediately just like came out with their pitchforks and their torches. I do think that those of us on the left side, we do get upset early and often, and sometimes we go for blood immediately, and sometimes it's too much. Sometimes it's too much. I'm an old Gen Xer. I think sometimes we have to like have a little bit more grit, have to like, yeah, and that's the thing, is like, because then once you get into that discussion, it also leads to that discussion of realizing that, okay, so a trans woman and a cis woman got here in different ways, but all of these different cis women, all of their experiences were different. And you know what? All of these trans women, their experiences were all different. And so it had the possibility to open up this conversation, but no. Immediately everybody piled on, and then J.K. Rowling just spent the next decade constantly getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, to the point where now she is like openly funding and like harming trans individuals and non-binary individuals, like awful. Like she's to the point where I think it's unforgivable. I mean, I always say that there are no good people and there are no bad people. It's just people making choices. But she has clearly shown that she's not going to make any other choices. So it's too much. As a cishet AFAB, she is awful. Yeah, she is absolutely awful. And an old Gen Xer. Love it. Yes, I've always been non-binary from the start, but I don't understand the need to care about anyone's identity. I don't care, so why does a Republican? Well, they worry about it because they have to control poor people. So that's the real truth about Republicans in this country, is that it all comes down to economics. There's a reason why Martin Luther King wasn't shot when he was like marching for equality and for civil rights, and when he was talking about separate but equal and segregation and all that kind of stuff. Martin Luther King was shot when he started talking about economics, and he started to rally the poor whites and started to get people like onto this idea of it's actually the economic conditions that you're in that are causing a lot of these problems between the races. That's when we assassinated MLK. And so there's all of this. The Republicans need to care about identities because they can't sell what they're actually selling to poor people, and especially poor white people. They need to have wedge issues, and they need to have this culture war bullshit to keep people, because otherwise, if you really just like sat people down, it's why there's all these people who are like waving Trump banners, because at least he like shows the same prejudices that they have. But like he's doing all of these things that are making their lives more and more miserable. So, and by before, I mean before identity became the conversation. Yeah, I think, but it's not our fault. Like, it's not our fault. Republicans are there was identity politics, but it didn't become much of a problem until Republicans started using it as a wedge issue. She's been actively and intentionally harmful. Absolutely. I have experiences no one has had, so what's the big deal? That's nothing to being more female. I'm curious about what she was upset about in the first place. She just got on that trans bandwagon, and she just is being hateful and being awful. I just want to make the point that if it's none of their business, don't tell them. So here's the thing about that, though, Gabby the Chicken. I'm going to push back on that, because this whole idea of, oh, well, just don't tell them, don't talk about that. Straight people wear wedding rings. Straight people have pictures of their wives and husbands on their desks. They freely talk about my husband, my wife, all this kind of stuff. That's always been a conservative talking point, acting like queer people are out here being like, well, when I get fucked in the butt, I like to do this, like at the break room at work. Nobody's doing that. But people should be able to talk about, if it's a man, they should be able to talk about their boyfriend, their husband. A woman should be able to talk about her girlfriend, her wife, just as easily as straight people. Nobody, the whole like pushing it down their throats is bullshit. That's propaganda. It's being pushed by woke. Now they just call it woke. They stole that word from black people, like they steal everything, and just like it's all woke. But this whole like pushing it down people's throats, bullshit. It's people existing and living authentically, and you don't have to give any more detail than you're comfortable with, but people, what you're comfortable with shouldn't set the standard. The standard should be people are able to talk about their lives and their relationships freely and openly. So I'm going to push back on that. Just the negative attention about it, because I thought I've done things people said they thought I would out of frustration and anger, not logic. Yeah, definitely. I'm not saying don't talk about your so-and-so, but why do they care if they don't want to hear about why they do it? They should know. Yeah, woke. Yeah, it's just, that's the thing, is they don't want to live in a world where anything challenges them or is different from what they know or is confusing or is whatever. And they've been told by this Republican establishment that they shouldn't have to see anything else that's different, because that's not American. That's not our traditions. That's not our values. It's believe the science. Like the audacity, the absolute audacity of Republicans to talk about trusting the science when they clearly do not understand science beyond like a second grade level. Like in second grade, somebody told them like, there are boys and there are girls, and that's all they got. And it's like, and so then they were just like, trust the science. And it's like, well, scientists will tell you that nature doesn't actually like binaries, that anything that you've been taught about sex, gender, sexuality that's in a binary is not nature, is not science. It's not. Nature does not like binaries. It doesn't work well. Binaries don't function. Nature loves a spectrum. Nature loves a spectrum. And so it's this whole spectrum of identity where people go back and forth and there's different options and all this kind of stuff. It's, at least 30 plus years of a dedicated propaganda network. Yeah, absolutely. See them panic internally. I stop talking and say something else. But maybe they should panic internally. I'm kind of okay with making Republicans panic internally. I love that. It's a distraction from the real issues. Also, not telling them just feeds into and allows it being brushed aside, swept under the rug, and even being open. Yes, absolutely. This whole idea of if you're just not visible, then we'll leave you alone. And we have millennia of history to tell us that that is not true, that people get rights, and when they have representation and visibility, we have more understanding, and that's how you get culture to open up and be more open to different identities and different experiences. And also like keeping people down and keeping people in shame and keeping people like in the closet, all that does is increase mental health issues, increase suicide, increase violence against those people, increase the attitudes of the people around them to believe that it's justified to act in that way. And so it's absolutely not acceptable. What annoyed me is we were talking about porn at work because we were all very young, so 18 to 30, said some vile shit in confidence, like about sex mostly. One was a Trumper. Talking about porn at work is wild business. That is wild business. That's a choice, Gabby the Chicken. No matter how, that's one thing. As somebody who has been in the corporate world for a long time, I mean, I don't know, obviously, what the situation was. I don't know what the business was. Make your choices. But I will tell you that, like, it's important to remember, sometimes we make friends at work and we become friends outside of work and things like that. Your coworkers by default are not your friends, and HR is certainly not your friend. So like talking about porn at work, that I would be like, because I've had to have many conversations with grown ass adults about things that they did and brought into the workplace, which have always shocked and surprised me. We thought he was gay for like a year. He was so nice. It was weird. It was during COVID. It was a felony to enter our building without a badge. We got the head of HR fired. So HR, the thing with HR, and this is something that a manager taught me, and is that you need to remember that HR is there to protect the business. They are there to protect the business from legal issues that can arise. And so if something is happening to you where protecting you is in the interest of the business, then HR will be your best friend. If somebody is doing something to you that is clearly illegal, that could put them in some sort of like legal jeopardy, if it could open up a liability to a lawsuit or a settlement, HR is going to be your best friend, because that is their job, is to protect the business. The minute you are the problem, the minute you are the thing that is going to open them up to liability, forget about it. Like, they are your nemesis. You are the Joker to their Batman, and they will treat you as such. So like, just remembering that like HR people tend to like put off that sort of like that very friendly kind of happy, most of them. There are some that like get into it for weird reasons, but it's definitely something of like, you just need to remember like what they are there to do, and when it is they're there to keep the company from getting sued. Absolutely. Yeah, I see HR as meaning humans are the resource, like coal, lumber, grain. They're here to use it. I mean, you're not wrong, CJ. You're not wrong. Humans as a resource. And so, but again, it's not even like protecting. Like, sometimes we protect coal, lumber, and grain better than we protect people. But they are there to protect the like legal considerations of the company. That is what they are there to do. And depending on where you fall in that is how you will be treated because of that. And that's just something, I mean, I can't believe sometimes the conversations I've had to have with like full grown adults, and the corporate language that I've had to adopt because of that. Because sometimes you just want to be like, what the fuck are you doing? But you can't do that, because that is not appropriate, and that will cause HR issues for you. So instead, you have to approach it in this way that drives me crazy. I had so many conversations that always had to start with, help me understand. That's a good like HR phrasing. So when there's some like behavior that like doesn't make sense, that is not conducive to the workplace, and you have to like, help me understand why you thought this was correct behavior in the workplace. So you're not like threatening or saying, you did this, like you are bad, whatever. You put it in place of like, okay, so we've had this experience. Help me understand why you decided that smoking marijuana in your car in the parking lot of this building while you were on break and had to come back for the second half of your shift was a good idea. Help me understand that. And then we have to say that like, this is our expectation. Do you think that you can meet that expectation? And then you would have them say yes or no, because then they're either agreeing or they're saying, no, I can't do that. And then you have to say, okay, this is the expectation moving forward. And so if we don't meet this expectation, then we will have to revisit this. And, it's just that kind of HR. That's one thing that I don't miss. I was a trainer for like 6.5 years. And I generally liked it because I like working with people. I like teaching. I like helping people develop their skills, all that kind of shit. Excuse me, pretty girl. But those conversations were the worst, because those are the ones where it was just like, it was taking time away from the classroom and from the things we needed to be doing. And I just am like, oh, I hate that part of it. And having to have those conversations where it's just like, oh, so you stalked him all day. Oh, please, I smoked on the job because I couldn't poop there. It was too stressful. Not like, oh, just a teeny bit so that I could relax to poop. I mean, I think that I'm not going to tell people what to do, right? But if there are clearly defined rules, and then people violate those rules, and then when there's repercussions, they act like they're the victim, or they try to give you the explanation. See, and if you got approval from your supervisor, that's a different sort of issue. But we had to have these conversations because we had a very clear, you cannot smoke. I mean, at the time, marijuana wasn't legal for medical or recreational. It's still not legal for recreational. There is medical marijuana is approved in North Dakota. But so we had like very clear rules. You cannot smoke pot during your shift. That includes on breaks, that includes on that. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I can't help your pooping issue. But if you got approval for it, then that's a different issue. That's not the conversations that I was having. It was not people getting approval because they couldn't poop. No, I was with training. So I was like the first step where I had to like have these conversations, and I had to like coordinate with HR, because then any of the like write-ups and stuff, they would do all of that kind of stuff. But I was technically their manager when I was a trainer. And so I had to have those conversations. And then once it got to the point of like termination, so like the drug stuff, usually that, I don't think they even got like a one-time chance with that. I think that we had the conversation, and then we usually went over to HR, and then they were terminated. But it's been a little while since I did it, so I can't remember. Yeah. Maybe a dispensary across town, but like I ain't doing that. Yeah. Isn't that an immediate fire like mixing? Yeah, for ours, it was pretty much an immediate fire. And so we would have, but we still had to have this conversation. That's the thing. Everything has to be so by the book, because they are there to protect the business. So like, we know that it's an immediate fire. We shouldn't have to have this big rigmarole, but we do. Where first I have to take them into a room, and I have to say, help me understand. And we have to talk through that, and then I have to document it. And then I have to take my documentation, and we walk over to the HR office, and I give them the documentation, and then we bring in the person, and then we say, like, did you do this? Like, it says here that you confirm that you did this. Is this true? Do you realize that this is against our whatever? And then they would go through the termination process. So like, it's very structured, it's very rigid, it's very all the things. Yeah, like if you were just going to mix up a martini on break, it's the same thing. Like there was no drinking, no smoking during. No, I don't. I trained people for call center work. But when you are a trainer, like you are, so HR isn't just the HR person. For a lot of these kind of corporate jobs, especially if you have a lot of training and stuff, is that like you become sort of like an agent of HR because you are their manager. And so that's not if you get approved by people giving out felonies for not having a badge to enter, and people did and got fired. They were like, screw the key, you can't leave rooms without scanning a badge. I don't know what to tell you, Gabby the chicken. I'm just telling you that like, we may not always like the rules, but sometimes the rules are the rules, and if we don't do the rules, there are repercussions. And that's the part that like was so weird in these conversations of like, because people will say like help me understand why you chose to do this. And then it's like, well, did you understand that that was not within the rules that we had given you on orientation day or whatever? And they'll say, yeah, I knew. But they don't care. Like they're just like, I don't care or whatever. And so it's like, sometimes you just got to jump through the hoops, and you may not like the hoops, but sometimes you just got to jump through the hoops, or they're going to not let you be in the hoop anymore. All of them. I got the head of HR fired at my manager who worked there. Like, if you can, I can't speak to your situation. And so you don't really know what's going on. But yeah, that's the wild part. When I was training, I had to have weird conversations. Small Plastic World, do you have any upcoming shows? I do. This weekend I have a doubleheader. I will actually be on a live stream. If you have not ever watched Allison Troy, Retro Toy Princess, I'm going to be over on her channel at 2 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Central on Sunday, and I'm going to be doing coloring. I've got some fun new art supplies from Five Below. I love Five Below. It's my favorite place to buy plastic crap. And so I am going to be coloring vintage Barbie coloring book pages on Sunday, the 29th? Alexa, what's the date on Sunday?
Sunday will be August 30th, 2026.
August 30th. I was getting confused about which days it was. So I am going to be over on Allison Troy, Retro Toy Princess's channel. Also on the 30th, we are having Taylor Swift drag brunch and bingo at the Empire Theater. So if you are in or around the the Grand Forks area, then absolutely, I would love for you to come and join us. Tickets, get your tickets. Now, people in North Dakota are notoriously late to buy their tickets. Last time, we had to turn people away. They are working to get more... we are looking to get more seats into the basement so that we can have more people. But if you are in or around the Grand Forks area, we sold out last time. It's absolutely possible we will sell out this time. So go to empireartscenter.com and pick up your tickets. Can you leave something in your community post about which thing? We've talked about so many things, Janet. Which thing should I leave a community post about? Very special. We all got pursued in traffic by this truck one day. Oh, it sounds like you had a really interesting workplace there, Gabby. The 30th, I think I've told you. So, yeah, the dates do not work in my brain for some reason, but we're having drag brunch and coloring on the same day. Oh, about my coloring live. Okay, I will do that. Thanks, Janet. Do I have a pen? Because I know I always say I'm going to put things on the channel on the post page, and then I literally don't. I just don't. Because I forget, my brain is tiny and is... Okay, I've got a Sharpie. Do I have... I just need to write this down. Do I have a piece of packaging? Anything? Oh, I do! Support@bookdrop.com. I must have ordered a book somewhere. Okay, so put community post about coloring live stream. Thanks, Janet. I will do that. I always forget that. I'm bad at social media. I'm not good at it. I'm not good at it. I forget things all the time. There's no adults during the show. I keep trying to convince Mama Champagne she should be my unpaid assistant. And she just doesn't. She's retired. She has the time. She could be my unpaid assistant, but no. Also, what on earth does your shirt say? It's backwards, and I had a glass of wine earlier. So it says Friday the 13th in a really funky font, and it's got Jason Voorhees, and it's kind of in the like NES purple and blue colors. So that's so it's Friday the 13th. Cleaning job. Hello, Joe. How are you doing? Their eye is all I see from Mama Champagne. I don't know if something... hello, lovely Mama C. Hello, fun colors. Yes, thank you. Oh, yeah. Once you know what it's that weird kind of font, and especially backwards, it's hard to be like, what exactly is happening? But then once you know what it is, it's easy to see it in there. But yeah, I can see how the first time it would just be like, what's happening there? Or what's going on? But yeah, so I have coloring, and then I have... that's on the 30th. And then in Grand Forks, we have Grand Forks Pride coming up. We are doing... see how my little Swiss cheese brain really has to work at this? So on Saturday, September 12th, which I should look and see if I have a Friday live stream. I don't know if I want to do drag like Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. I don't get into drag all that often. And anymore, I'm getting old and cranky. So I may have to switch that live stream. We'll see. But if I have one on the 11th. But on Saturday the 12th, we have our Grand Forks Pride Show, which is going to be at the Hilton, which is a new location because our venue closed down, I think after the January show, January or February. And so they've been looking around for a new venue. Yeah. Yeah. My jumbled brain. It's all in there. I don't know if it's organized very well. But it's all in there. It's just shaking it around to get the right piece to fall out. And so, yeah, it gets a little crazy. But so September 12th, we have our Pride Show. I don't know any information about the hours and things like that. BJ always starts super fucking early. So I'm sure the doors open at 7 and it probably starts at 8 because we do senior citizen drag. Hateful. 8 o'clock is hateful. I mean, it's nice to be home and like washed off by like 11:30. That's always nice too. But so I have that coming up in September. We're gonna do a Dolly Parton themed drag bingo brunch in September. We don't have the date for that. This year Pride is going from like weekend to the next weekend. And so we had talked about maybe on that second weekend doing a drag brunch on like either the Saturday or Sunday. I think maybe the Sunday. When I have that, I'll definitely put that out there. I will definitely. I would not be a reliable unpaid assistant. Some days I might not feel like it. R.I.P. Dolly. Yes, R.I.P. to Dolly. It's much harder to get up and stumble into the kitchen and pour myself a cup of ambition now. Is this real wood behind? No, this is a photo backdrop. So this is like fabric. It's just against a boring white plaster wall. But I keep thinking I should get a new backdrop. I've had this backdrop for so long. And I used to have like sequin back in my old office. I would have, if you go back into like my old videos, this is before I was even doing lives, but like in my old videos, I always have like glitter curtains behind me. And this wood was on another wall with a couple of chairs, because I had a little setup that I called the cabin, because I had all this Friday the 13th stuff in it, and it was wood grain. And I thought if I ever wanted to film interviews, then I could film that little section. I called it the cabin. But then when I moved in here, I was like, well, clearly I never filmed any interviews. And anytime I had anybody else in a video, they were just with me on the regular backdrop. So I was like, well, I don't really need to have the cabin anymore. So when we moved here, rather than switching out the glitter curtains every time, I was like, I'm just going to put a backdrop on the wall and we'll stick with it. But I do think that sometimes I'm like, I should try a new one at some point. But so maybe at some point that'll happen, but I'm not in any rush. Pretty girl. Hello, Grace. Honestly, the only celebrity death I actually care about that actually pissed me off. Yeah. Oh, I know Dolly Parton. She was so good. Oh, I thought it was fabric, but it looks really good. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I do. I like it. I think it's kind of fun. And it's kind of, it's multi-purpose. So it like goes when I do, it's a neutral. And so like when I do makeup stuff, I feel like it works. When I do horror stuff, I feel like it works. When I do nerdy stuff. And so I just, yeah, it feels more like homey than just having like a glaring white wall with maybe some art or something. Also, another thing is that a lot of the YouTubers that have those lighter, more pastel-y kind of backgrounds, they have more room. So like my table, like I can hit the wall. They're like further up so that it's a little bit more like diffused and in the background. And I just don't have the room in this office. At some point we might try to put casters on my filming table, and then I could like push up a little bit to film, and maybe we could do something with the background and put some art on the wood or whatever. But yeah, it's so nice. I love it. It looks so cozy. It is cozy. It's like the cabin. It's like a little time away at the cabin for the art too. Yeah, I like that. All right. Well, that is our discussion of Beautiful Thing. I hope you enjoyed. That is the end of our movie series. Maybe in November we'll bring back movies, or we'll bring back some other kind of discussion, because I think that after September and October, I'm going to be real tired of painting this clown face. And so maybe by the time we roll around to November, so if there's any kind of fun discussion-y topics you think could be interesting, let me know. No, I know the makeup art too. But I've always wanted to have like art back here behind me that could be like part of the backdrop, but it looks weird when you're sitting like right on top of it. So if we pushed it out a little bit, I could have some art and stuff, but like a cool tapestry. And yeah, I love a good tapestry. Yeah, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let me see if I can remember my outro. Thank you so much for watching. I love and appreciate all of you. Those of you who are here in live chat. Oh yes, if you missed Dion's live, make sure you roll around and be replay crew. We would love that. And also don't forget, if you are here in chat, to go ahead and circle back around and leave a comment down below. Help me feed the beast, help me feed the algorithm. Replay crew, we already know you rock. We'd love to hear your thoughts down below. If you've seen Beautiful Thing, if you have any thoughts on the movie, on the characters, on that, all of that good stuff, then definitely let us know in the comments below. While you are down there, don't forget that you can give me that thumbs up to tell me that you appreciated the video. Or if you are like, girl, what are you in here talking about? British kids and HR and all this kind of stuff, then go ahead and give me that thumbs down. It is all engagement. The algorithm isn't a picky bitch, and neither am I. And while you're down there, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, become part of the family. I would love it if everybody who isn't subscribed would make sure they subscribe before they leave. We're getting so close to 900, and hit that bell icon so you'll be notified every time I do a live or have an upload. And I try really hard to make sure I have at least one video or live per week, and I usually go live several times a week. And sometimes, if you're lucky, if you're very lucky, you might even get a bonus video. Ooh, beautiful thingerific. That was not very good. If you'd like to chat, banter, or commiserate between uploads, all of my social media will be linked down in the description box below, including a link to my website. Just pretend it's there. The World of Champagne at JanessaJ.com. Thank you so much for watching. I love and appreciate all of you. I hope everybody had a good time. I'm going to go home. I'm going to watch Days, and then I'm going to read some more letters to the Purple Satin Killer. This is very fun. I'm very excited. If you haven't checked out JanessaJ.com, I do have a tab called The Bookshelf, where I talk about all of the things that I've been reading, from horror novels to old, like, Fear Street and Christopher Pike books, to a book about Barbie. So if you want to see what I've been reading this year, go ahead and head over to the Bookshelf tab on JanessaJ.com. But I hope everybody has a lovely night. It was lovely to see all of you again. I love this chat. We always have a good time. And until I see you again, bye. And now it's the awkward shutting down of the stream. There we go.